Hi, Statesman Nation. We are here with Athletics Director Nick Rule as well as Women's Golf Coach Bailey Rhymes as we introduce number 2 on the stories of the decade. And the story for number 2, Coach, is, and Coach is.
You're always a big coach.
You're always going to be a coach, right?
Yeah.
Is the amazing run of conference titles by the women's golf team, 6 in a row entering this year. So just a run that's unprecedented for any sport, I think, that William Penn that we've had. So one that's totally worthy of number 2. So Nick, being that you didn't start the women's golf, or weren't there for year 1 of the restart, but quickly took over and turned it into what it is, and now Bailey continues the success and was a big part of the last few years as well, as much as you want to give her credit for that, I guess. But
she deserves
credit.
A
little bit.
So, that's why she's here.
Hence why you guys are here to talk about, I guess, basically, getting the program from, where it started to now where it is as, a perennial national power, but 6-time in a row conference champion. So
women's golf was introduced to the university in 2008, and after a hiatus of a few decades, probably.
I think it was right. Yeah, it was just right at the end of the decade.
Yeah,
right to switch from D3 and Iowa Conference.
So about 10 years around there, and so the sport came back, and it kind of started off limping those first few years, and I was a student at the time, and when chance came into we were able to take it over, and actually it was you and I in that first few years, and we just had this vision for creating something.
You had the vision. I'm not going to take any credit for this. I'm just here just to ask the questions, but the vision was his. I helped, but I just want to make that abundantly clear. This is where it came from. Here,
well, but you have to start somewhere, and the one thing as I was thinking about this, as coming into today, is that you start thinking about everyone that was involved in something like this, and to win 6 straight, that's, you have to pinch yourself. That doesn't happen very often, and I think as the team has progressed, it's just like that's an expectation that the team has always had. And when I was coaching, it's still that was kind of our expectation. That was our goal. But there were 3 or 4 years prior to that, 3 especially, where those players in those programs were not victorious in the conference championship. But they built this thing.
Yes,
they built the foundation of it. Yeah, they built the foundation, and we were able to evolve every single year. And so over the time, we're talking over 40 different players. We're talking 7 to 8 different coaches as far as the staff is concerned, and a few head coaches along the way. And it just stuff like that doesn't happen with some type of plan of continuity and just a real deep belief in culture. And then strategically bringing people to William Penn University, playing the program, that want to be a part of that family culture. And so from day one, what we wanted to find out in order to become, we were one of the worst teams in the country. And if you go back and look at the golf stat ratings back during that time, we were one of the 4 worst teams in the NAIA, and to go from one of the 4 worst teams to a top 25 team for
most of the stretch.
Most of the stretch. A lot of people have something involved in that. So one thing that we really focused on every single day, it's the same thing we're focusing on with our athletic department now, but we're trying to build we tried to build a niche into our program, and we looked at what everyone else was doing, and then we figured out, okay, what is different that we can sell and deliver on with our recruits and our student athletes for an experience that other golf programs weren't doing at the time, and it was team. And we wanted a team just like softball and baseball and volleyball and all these different sports, and that was, golf was such an individual sport back in the early part of the decade, and we feel like some of our focus has helped other programs in the conference focus on that as well. But you had a lot of great players, a lot of people taking a chance. I think one of the players that you were heavily involved in with helping get here was Maggie Yang. And I think without players like that who took a chance to make it okay for good, talented student athletes to come play for our program, a lot of things had to happen, but it took a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of different people, and here we are today. Bailey's leading the program. She's part of the coaching tree with the women's golf team, and she was a student assistant for the last 4 years, and they're still on that track. I mean, they're ranked number 24 in the country right now, so really picking up where we left off. So.
Definitely. Bailey, talk about that a little bit. Coming from, you've been in 3 different parts basically, as being a student athlete, then being a student coach, now being a head coach. What initially, and I'm sure this you can be speaking for all of the athletes over the last 10 years or whatever, what initially attracted you to William Penn athletics, or William Penn women's golf, excuse me, and that, and this is going to add to what Nick's talking about is.
I mean, Nick said it perfectly. It all went back to the family atmosphere. You're looking for something that's bigger than yourself, and you don't find that a lot in golf. Everyone kind of views it as an individual sport, and that's something I talk to recruits about a lot too. Is that we really are a family, and I giggled a little bit when he said we want to be a softball-style team or baseball, basketball, whatever it may be, because I tell recruits that every single time I talk to them, and so it's something that people want, and everyone wants to have a purpose that's bigger than themselves, and that's what drives us, and that's why I came here, and I continue to be here.
Yeah, and I think part of it, again, one of the focus that I think was kind of the epicenter of building the success was we didn't talk about winning, hardly ever. In fact, if I could make a guess on maybe how many times as a coach when I was coaching over the, 7 years or whatever it was, 7 different seasons, 8 different seasons, whatever it was, is it maybe 4 or 5 times actually talked about winning. What we wanted to focus on is the person. We wanted to focus on developing great citizens, people that are going to give back to their communities wherever they go by giving back to our community while they're here. We wanted people that were going to be high achieving in the classroom and take care of business and invest in their life. And we want people that wanted to invest in our campus life too. So we felt like if we were able to build that into every single one of our student athletes, the golf side was going to take care of itself. So we never talked about winning. And I think one of the smartest things we were able to do is try to make sure that we had the foresight to not talk about winning, and talk about all these other tangible things that developed winners. So if you can develop a winner, a transformational type person, not a transactional person, you're going to have transformational results. And that's what we felt real confident with as we built. And that's one thing, when we were going through the interview process and for our next head coach for the program, Bailey stood out from the top from everyone because that was really
she got it.
She got it. She understood it, and it's not that it's not one of those things. I hate the whole old thing. If it's broke, don't fix it.
Right.
No, every year we would look at it. Okay, what can we do better? Right. And I think and if we just focused on winning, we would never been saying, hey, what can we do better? Yeah. Because we were winning. Yeah. But it's what can we do to move the needle and be just a little bit better this year? And we were always assessing ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, that's been kind of the, I don't want to say buzzword, but it's been, if you listen to like a Dabo Swinney or Orgeron, talking this past few weeks about a national title and stuff, they never once said, from day one, this was our goal, whatever. And if we didn't reach that goal, then we got problems. Every other coach would have said that. If we made that our goal to begin with, saying we're going to win a national title, and we didn't get there, then we look at that year as a failure. And you can't, I mean, obviously you guys never did that and say, we're going to be successful, and this is how we're going to be successful, and not just worry about the wins and losses. It's nice that the wins come. Being that you weren't part of this, you can't answer this one. You can talk about the back end, but winning that first conference title, you can go back a little bit in the memory bank. What was that like? What was that feeling like?
Man, oh God, I've got goosebumps right now. I was at Riverside Golf Course, and it was in Riverside, Iowa. And what an amazing day that was at Blue Top Ridge. It was emotional. I remember there's a picture that I have at my desk now, and it's right to the side, and the whole team is in a circle, and it was such a great thing because you only could play 5 in the conference championship, obviously, and we had I think 11 or 12 or God, it might even been 15 on the roster, somewhere around there. Every single player on the program made the trip that final day, even if they weren't playing. Right. And we're all sitting around, and we have our arms around each other, and there were tears, and it was just special. But I remember one of our players who was not playing that day said, "This is just the beginning, ladies," and that to me was like, "We've got it." And it was just a really special moment. I think that going into it, that was at the point where we thought, okay, everything that we've talked about, like everything that our belief and like, feeling that we could be a top perennial program in the region and then transition that into the national level, we finally started to believe. It was a goal, it was a dream, and then all of a sudden it's like, we can do this. The year before, we had our hearts broken.
Yeah, I got second. It was
and we were leading after day one, and all these girls played on that team, and there were 2 seniors on that team, or actually one, Courtney Crommuller, and we remembered the feeling of her, because she deserved to win a conference title. She was such a great contributor to the foundation of the program, and we all remember that feeling, and that was a testament to everyone that had given time in the past, and then it was also setting a foundation for what the future is going to be like. And it was just, I'll remember that day the rest of my life. And professionally speaking, there's been no greater honor, and I love the role I'm in today. To me, it's the best job in the world. But there's been no greater honor than serving our student athletes in the women's golf program as their coach over the years. And just the relationships and bonds that I have with those players is incredible. And I love them all. I love them so much. They're just amazing people. But that first one was special.
Yeah, I know you guys are. Every summer it seems like somebody's getting married and everybody's like back together. Yeah. So I don't know. You're probably the only one left. So you get
work on it.
Sorry, guys.
But you talk about that family where it's everybody. These current freshmen probably know immediately who Courtney Crommuller is, who Maggie Yang is.
They have an idea,
Dana Hugan was, all of these players that, again, set the foundation, and now, they're just adding to it and making it even more special. All right, you were part of many conference titles as coach and, student coach, player, everything. Talk about, it's a tough question, so, but this last one, as special as the first one that you were part of?
I'd say more so this one. This last one, I felt like, I'd always been kind of around and been able to contribute to the culture, but I never really felt like I'd played that big of a role, and so the opportunity to come in and make an impact was really awesome this year.
Yeah.
But it all goes back to those guys. I mean, they put in the hard work. They're the ones that put in the dedication. They're the ones that are our culture warriors. Yeah. And so I can only take a small bit of that.
Right, definitely. I don't know if there's much more you can say about this amazing run outside of, let's keep it going, so no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
There we go.
But
hey, it's coming up quick.
It is,
yeah.
It's just
2.5 months?
Exactly, 2.5 months. So, again, you're probably not saying this is, you're not saying it, otherwise he'd probably get on you, but,
it's her program.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess, what is the driving force right now for number 7, even though we're not talking about number 7?
We're not really talking about it. We're really happy with how the fall went, and so we're just trying to do a little bit better than the fall. They came out and they were just gunning for it, and the mentality right now is hard work, and if they just keep continuing with the hard work aspect of the study tables, the workouts, the practices, and everything else on top of that, I have no worries.
Yeah. I don't know where I was going to go with that next question. Sorry, I was going to say something like how difficult is it to just keep this rolling? But if you're doing everything you can do, and there's going to come a day, unfortunately, probably that the streak ends. But
if we could say we did put our best foot forward, then you can't be upset with yourself.
Right.
And all along the way, I think that the one thing that I want to make sure that everyone understands is that so many people were part of this. And just as we're talking here, I think about guys like Steve Latos, who was a graduate assistant, who was a huge part of recruiting. Dylan Detweiler, Chris Pearson, and Bailey. Bailey was an uncommon student assistant. Bailey, for her entire time, ran our, basically operations side of things. Then, dabbled on this from recruiting and things like that. Even my little sister, Alexi Rule, who was a student assistant, she helped with all those things. And I think the one thing that was most special about it is everyone wanted to be involved in some way. And we really never had issues with people accepting their role. Mm-hmm. And most of these players coming in were the best player on their high school team. And they always were trying to find a way to better the team, whether that was by going to the conference championship, supporting them, by helping someone in class. And one of some of my favorite moments where I was like, oh my gosh, this team gets it. This program gets it every year, is when I saw a teammate helping another teammate in study tables with a class. It's like, that's what it's all about.
Right.
And so, it's a great run, and we're honored that it was a part of our top 10 moments, and we've had a really nice history in the last 10 years with success. Sure. And number one, I know who that is, and obviously I'm not going to tell it now because
don't give it away.
But well deserved, and the fact that this is the number two is just a testament to all the players in the program. And like I said before, I just love all those girls so much. They're just amazing people, and I wouldn't be where I am without them and all of our coaching staff over the years. And then be able to have bonds and relationships with people like Bailey and our players, and I had Elise Warren in my office today just wanting to talk. It's just like, that's cool stuff, and it's just, connections are really important. So.
Definitely.
And I think almost every student athlete could say the same thing for Nick too. He's made an impact on every single person that's come through this program in one way, shape, or form. Whether he likes to hear it or not.
We're going to have to pop his head before we walk through that door.
I could wipe my eyes.
I know, right?
And so I think that's something important too. He gives all the credit to everybody else, but he deserves a lot of it.
Yeah. All right.
Let's end this now, please.
Yeah, we got to end because they're both getting teary-eyed over there. I'm feeling awkward. So
what a time, what a moment.
Once again, current women's golf coach Bailey Rhymes, as well as former golf coach Nick Rule, our athletics director now. So number 2 on the list. We'll get to number 1 tomorrow. But for everything Statesman Athletics, go to statesmanathletics.com. Thanks, guys.